I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about the series after I go through this. So here, on the bottom side of King of the Hill, it's the blue Chinese player, LEENOCK. His opponent in the red as the French. The score. I forgot to change the score. Anyhow, it's the man, the legend, the Viper. So, a little bit of a smooth transition. And by smooth, I mean not smooth at all. To fix the score. It's a best of 5, everybody. And let me get you through the map choices and the civilizations. Because we have King of the Hill and High View. Try Arabia, of course. Hill and Dale and Mongolian Heights in these maps for this best of 5. So one of the hybrid maps went through the draft and we're gonna possibly see Mongolian Heights being played. As for the draft goes, both players have been banning the Delhi Sultanate, so we're gonna have Mongols available for both of them, alongside Chinese, French, Holy Roman Empire and Abbasid on the side of LEENOCK, and Rus, Abbasid, Holy Roman, and yes, French for the Viper. So the only difference is Rus for the Viper and Chinese on the side of LEENOCK. We're gonna see. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Anyhow. It's King of the Hill. There's no real straight path into the... Wow, this seed is insane. King of the Hill is the one map which, like, 50% of the time just gets an insane seed that does some incredibly awkward things. It's so complicated for the Viper to actually engage onto LEENOCK. Like, this forest over here is nuts. Yes, you can watch the VOD on the profile here on Africa TV, and we're also going to have a YouTube video for the finals on our main channel on YouTube. So, good night. Alright, School of Cavalry going up for the Viper. It's going to be so complicated to find a way in for those Royal Knights though. This is a little bit of a sneaky spot to send them in. And maybe go through here. And another sneaky spot is of course over here. As you can see, these scout spotting that exact same spot to try and do something. But of course, with the barracks going up and the Barbican of the Sun probably going to be in a choke point, LEENOCK can look forward to defend somewhere, somewhat. Of course, we've seen this matchup being played before by LEENOCK. It was Dry Arabia, so it was a little bit tougher for him to defend than King of the Hill, of course. But in the end, the French aggression early on can prove to be just a little bit too much for Chinese. Marine Lord is a slightly more aggressive player than the Viper, so it was probably even more complicated for LEENOCK to defend against Marine Lord. And it was Dry Arabia. So, are we going to see Chinese defense in a little bit more of a more conservative way, I shall say, on the side of LEENOCK? Or are we going to see instead the Viper pulling his foot from the throttle and just deciding to go for maybe professional scouts or something to the likes of it? Which is always an interesting choice, with Barrow being started, the first Royal Knight being started as well. Meanwhile, LEENOCK on the other side, Barbican on the Sun going up in a very good spot, protecting 2 gold veins at once. This seed is insane. Look at these two. Everything is so clamped tight for LEENOCK in 2 different locations, and both of them are insanely easy to defend. While the Viper, I That's just not an easy base to defend. Like, this is basically like spawning on Dry Arabia or something for him. This is so open. While LEENOCK is in such a tight spot. Why it's always the finals that have the weirdest seeds possible? Oh yeah, this scout is in a very awkward spot. Oh, the spears trying to get it. Ooh. Stuck between a rock and a hard place. There's a Barbican of the Sun over there. Yeah, this scout is not getting away with its life, I fear. The Viper is just going to suicide it to get a little bit more information. Once the rifles from the town center finish its life. Over here, a scout is actually going to go at it. At a one villager over here on stone. Again, LEENOCK is in such a good spot that not getting stone for a town center will be an absolute crime. But the Viper still wants to do something about it. Over here, Royal Knight going on top of the villagers on berries, actually killing one. Almost getting two. Meanwhile, another Royal Knight, this time over here, completely undefended. The spears chasing down a Royal Knight, but the Viper is going at it on lumber, killing two villagers, probably going to be free very soon, or even more. It's a total of 4 villagers being killed by the 2 Royal Knights. This is starting to get a little bit too much for LEENOCK. That's not what you want to happen. This is a lot of kills. The second TC is up though. LEENOCK can easily recover from these losses if the Viper decides not to be too aggressive. Professional scouts, not going to be researched. Meanwhile, the Viper is just gonna take advantage of these patches of deers spawning always very close to your base on King of the Hill. And of course, LEENOCK is not going to have anything aggressive going on for him for a little while. And for a long while, let's be honest, for a long while. Chivalry is being researched. These Royal Knights are out for blood, for more blood. And the Viper is actually trying to get as many resources as possible as of now without spending too much and get into age 3 before his opponent and maybe try to go for a push after that. Because I don't see him producing any more Royal Knights, just gonna try to take advantage of Chivalry once these Royal Knights heal up. And double charge, not gonna happen. Oh, actually the one Royal Knight was almost... Actually, that's a snipe. And all of a sudden, the Viper, like losing that one Royal Knight as soon as Chivalry finished, that's not a good thing. Chivalry with just one Royal Knight? Yeah, you don't love that. As of now, 30 villagers for LEENOCK against the 33 on the Viper. The 2TC boom still not granting a lot to LEENOCK due to the faster production time for French on villagers. And you can see Royal Institute going up for the Viper. Not a kill. That's something. I've seen these a couple times, and that's pretty much all. This Royal Knight will manage to escape before the walls go up, but indeed LEENOCK has found itself in a very tightened up spot to defend with one single path into his base, being well defended by the Barbican of the Sun. Oh, this scout might he be trapped? So he's actually going to go for the villager, stopping it before he can bring the walls up. The Viper is gonna reach Castle Age with a military landmark, the Royal Institute. Getting him his unique upgrades. Building even more wrecks around it. You can see a monastery being built up by the Viper as well to try and get the relics as soon as possible. The Royal Knight escaping with his life and recovering it in a little while. The chivalry. LEENOCK, on the other hand, what do we have here? On the side of the Chinese player. Still pretty much a long way from getting into the astronomical clock tower. Age up. It's always going to be astronomical clock tower, guys. It's never not astronomical clock tower. Alright, man announce time. It looks like it's going to be that Royal Institute is still not researching anything at all. There's not really much to research out of it, after all. It's a unique choice. Like, I'm not really too sure what to think about not having a guild hall against Chinese out of all the civilizations out there. It's going to be weird, but in the end, LEENOCK is going to be a little bit behind on everything else in the form of tech. Whereas the astronomical clock tower, it's over here. Almost under the eyes of this scout over here is going to be produced. And is going to grant LEENOCK one of the strongest castle age landmarks out there. Being able to produce a lot of super strong siege units. The secret site is going to be controlled by the Viper for a little while. It's probably not going to be a real victory condition due to the astronomical clock tower existing mostly, and that's it. Because the Viper is going to have a very tough time defending this. Once it gets to the Royal Institute of Artillery, well, how did I call it? I mixed two landmarks name. But once you're gonna mix it with Royal Artillery, it's suddenly a lot easier to defend this secret site, even against the bulky clock tower siege units. Secret site has been captured. 22-30 is the winning moment for the Viper, but it's a long way. The Viper is building up a keep. He's getting a little bit of control here in the middle, and LEENOCK doesn't really have an easy way reaching there himself. This spawn might be a double-edged sword, after all. Yes, it's almost impossible to attack into LEENOCK base over here, but it's almost impossible for him to get it out of it as well, if the Viper manages to get enough control over here in the middle. Of course, we're still talking a Chinese player, so the astronomical clock tower can still grant him a strong option to gain control even from choke points. But the Viper is actually investing a lot into this. 9 minutes to go. How many relics does? Yeah, it's just one. Going to be two very soon, though. Did LEENOCK build a monastery of his own? Oh, yes, he did. It's over here, and he's going to try and get a couple of relics. One over here, one over here. Meanwhile, it's just a one for now for the Viper, but the secret set, of course, is granting him a steady income in the way of gold. Now the mangonels are out. Suddenly those choke points might work even more against LEENOCK. Of course, Clock Tower Springles are still a very strong option, as you can see. But the Viper with an outpost over here as well might grant himself a lot of vision, a strong position to hold the ground against this position over here. And on the left side, there's a huge keep going, like probably the most easy spot to attack into from LEENOCK. It's over here. And that's never not going to be like mangonels or units on different locations. Stone walls going up over here, and possibly soon enough over here as well. Oh, this monk out of the Viper actually snatching a relic. You can see the monastery having only one relic on the side of LEENOCK, and the Viper were ready to snatch 4 relics as well as the sacred side. And this sacred victory is looking closer and closer. It's 7 minutes, guys. It's not a lot. I don't see LEENOCK having too much as of now. And I don't see him building himself too much to counter that. Still the Chinese master. He's still waiting for his boom. And who knows, maybe we're gonna see just all of a sudden a double dynasty up and fire lancers streaming from all different directions. 7 minutes to go. It's not a lot, but it's not little time as well. Another keep being built by the Viper. Someone said before, he sure does love his secret victories. And LEENOCK is not really looking to put too much of an obstacle to it soon. Like, he's building Springald, yes, but that's pretty much it for now. Stonewalls are going up. Second keep is ready to go up as well. And it's 6 minutes now until that sacred victory. 22:30, as I was saying. The clock is ticking. What do we have here? A lot of racks, actually. A couple archery ranges too. It's a tough choice to make for LEENOCK right now because he has to commit into something without basically having any amount of information about his opponent. Like, absolutely zero information. And he has to commit into something based on what he collected a little while ago. It's a fair assumption he's going to expect men-at-arms. But right now the Viper is making a lot of Springald. He's not really caring too much about the Mangonels. He's just making a lot of Springalds to counter the siege options. I do like his Trebuchet going up and trying to bring down the stone walls and the clock tower Springalds, ready to counter the normal Springalds out of the Viper. But once he gets to men-at-arms, what do you have against those? Absolutely nothing. The lack of Mangonels might be scary for LEENOCK. It's 4 minutes and a half to go. Two keeps. Lots of stone walls being repaired as well. LEENOCK might be trapped in his own base. The same layout that was making him feel so safe, all of a sudden, has been used by the Viper to feel safe himself. King of the Hill might be a brutal map under the right random seed. And this time it looks like the Viper was the one able to play with the RNG a little bit better. Yes, this stone wall is eventually going to fall. It's too trebuchet. They're going to get the kill. These Springalds cannot get too close too soon. But in the end, like, the clock is ticking super fast right now, and these Springalds are getting in very close. It's still a choke point you have to walk through, even if you break down these stone walls. And there's absolutely no one saying that these... Oh, actually, Springald's getting a little bit aggressive. That these villagers cannot build a second wall behind this. It's always a possibility. Alright, the stone wall on the right side has been felled. And now the villagers go a little bit behind. What were they building over there? There's a keep stopping these spears from getting too close, and there's so many Springalds getting control of the high ground. It looks like LEENOCK is finally ready to make his move. He has 3 minutes to stop that sacred victory, and the keep and Springalds are going to do their best to stop that from happening. Mangonel shot goes on top of all of the spears. But just after that, the clock tower Springalds are gonna put an end to that one Mangonel. It looks like the Springald battle will be won by the Viper with just a little bit more Springalds. And now these men-at-arms and crossbows are just absolutely annihilating the competition. So many crossbows on the side of LEENOCK too, though. These Springalds are still up and standing, still bringing this trade in favor of the Viper. Right now, the Trebuchet doing their best to bring down the keep, but they just don't have enough damage. Luckily, the crossbows are gonna get a little bit of ground for LEENOCK, who's marching forward. More and more crossbows streaming from LEENOCK's base, while the Viper is going to send his men-at-arms ahead against the nest of bees to stop these crossbows from getting any more ground. A sneaky ram on the top side. His keep looks like it's going down, and the other keep will be threatened by a little bit of a sneaky maneuver from LEENOCK. Meanwhile, the crossbows out of the Viper will finally manage to shoo away LEENOCK for a little while, and now it's 1.5 minutes until the sacred victory happens. This ram will try to get a little bit of damage, but it will not get enough. A little bit of a waste of resources for LEENOCK in a very desperate time as of now. These trebuchets have done their job, but not much more than that. And now the Viper stands strong on top of the hill, with the nest of bees trying to get on top of these crossbows, but the Springles will not let that happen. Just the two Springles left standing will bring it in the face of the nest of bees, and maybe to the trebuchet as well. More and more units streaming through for LEENOCK. It's 50 seconds to go. Can LEENOCK make it? I don't think he can. The crossbows are marching ahead for the Viper, not for LEENOCK. The trebuchets are doing their desperate to try and get close to the second keep, but they will be felled by the Springles, or will they? They all survive in the end. The crossbows from the Viper will be shooed away. And a stream of units sent in the middle by LEENOCK, trying to send even villagers in, but it won't be enough. The Viper with the sacred sights will get game number 1 of this series. What do we have on the side of the Viper? The Wu has been taken. This might lead into some interesting options. Let's keep it at that. Could be a rush, could be not. No, it's not a rush. Yo, Askisaurus, you're reading in my mind or something. With a normal opening, the Viper is gonna go and try to harass with just a con for the time being, getting a little bit of scouting information, and wait probably for LEENOCK for the first move. Or not. Well, yeah, let's do spears. Let's do spears. Let's see, let's see. Of course, the Khan will get a little bit of pressure. Just not gonna do too much for the time being. Just force a couple villagers out of gold for a little while. And if Mongol is making you nervous by just looking at it, it makes two of us, guys. It makes two of us. Mongol makes me very nervous. Very, very nervous, especially with Viper being already 1 point ahead in the specified. Getting the second one is a low blow. We can see LEENOCK getting his economic wing and the spears rushing through the map to try and get a little bit of damage with a movement speed buff from the Khan. These villagers nowhere to run. Yeah, again, no berries being taken by LEENOCK as Abba, which apparently makes very little sense, but of course against Mongol it's a little bit tough to defend this position when gold was in this other side. So you can see an outpost being built over here, and with an outpost being built over here, you have to choose where you're going to defend. You cannot defend both, and I like the choice of LEENOCK to actually try and focus a little bit on gold. And you can see LEENOCK not managing to defend the gold by itself. Imagine trying to defend both. That would have been an absolute disaster. outposts are going up for the Viper. Over here next to the lumber villagers of LEENOCK. And yeah, Mongols are just... Huh. I don't really see a way out for LEENOCK out of these guys. He's going to get to age 2 and drop down on archery range. Of course, the Viper is still at age 1. It's going to be so complicated to gain control of his key resources. This looks bad for LEENOCK, indeed. The archery range being built next to the berries. Trying to take the berries is a very, very strong point for LEENOCK. If he manages to get those, it's suddenly in a little bit of a better spot. But of course, this house is definitely not standing up, and so is this mining camp. There's one villager trying its best to keep this house up and standing, but of course, the spears are gonna try and stop that villager from ever repairing the house. Over here, you can see a scout trying to stop the outpost from going up, but there's the Khan trying to stop this scout from getting too much damage on top of the villager. It's a little bit of an even trade over here, but in the end, the scout will need to focus down the Khan, while an archer pops out and focus down the villager instead. The outpost is definitely not going up, but the outpost on the other side is safely defending these spears, which are going to burn down a house and a mining camp, with LEENOCK completely cut off from gold. However, on the other side, he's looking like he will try and stop with the aggression. Deer stones are going up. And looks like the game might be stabilizing. With LEENOCK not being in the best of spots, but Khan dying is also not the best thing that could ever happen to the Viper himself. And his house will burn down, for sure. Alright, what do we have here? The stables going up next to the Ubu. Stones being completed. Everything is super fast right now for the Viper. And that's always lovely to see. Archery range going up as well next to this Ubu. With what in StarCraft 2 we might call the 1-1-1 opener. Another outpost. This time he's very close to the House of Wisdom. And that might be weird for LEENOCK. He might get awkward very fast. The House of Wisdom is an outstanding amount of health. Yes. That's never going to be threatened. Yes. But LEENOCK is pretty much forced to defend on the other side while his reinforcements come from another. With two outposts going up over here, sooner rather than later he needs to use some units over there. Of course, the battering ram is going to stop these outposts from getting too much value and almost making the trade even. It's 300 good for 100 for 200. So it's not the even trade that LEENOCK wanted to. But how is he paying for that? He has an archery range up against the triple production that the Viper can build up. He has a faster feudal, yes, but he has no gold to make use of it. Over here, the horsemen are gonna try and get on top of the lumber villagers. These berries are still a long way from being controlled. And LEENOCK will need to control them very soon. Clicking on the sheep will be almost impossible for me to check how much food is on those. Yeah, it's impossible. But I think there's enough food to last for a while. I think at least 3 minutes, 4 minutes maybe. Yeah, this his House of Wisdom is not taking a lot of damage. Now the ram will try to approach the second outpost. The second TC will be built up by LEENOCK over here. With the archers defending the ram, I think LEENOCK will be able to stabilize in a very good spot after all. This ram will it finish killing the outpost? I think it will. The outpost trying to focus fire on top of the archers. Spears and archers on the side of the Viper, trying to get on top of the villagers, building up the town center. Will they finish it on time? It doesn't look like they will. Keep on building. The outpost goes down to the bottom lane, but these horsemen are going on top of the villagers. So many units being pumped out by the Viper. And now that the Khan is alive again, these are also going to have a little bit of a boost. If the Khan decides to, they're gonna go fast. This town center very close to finishing. LEENOCK is going to invest so many villagers into getting it completed, getting ready to stuck them into it as well, to get a little bit more damage onto the army of the Viper. And most of it is going to be cleared. But at what cost? LEENOCK on 20 villagers against the 33 of the Viper. That's the price that LEENOCK had to pay. This second town center, it's absolutely massive for LEENOCK to try and recover. He lost a lot, but he's still alive. Berries are under his control, and he has 2 TC Boom ready to get him back in economical shape. The Viper might have overstayed his welcome. He's going to lose horseman after horseman, archer after archer, spear after spear. And now, all of a sudden, even with more outposts being built around the base of LEENOCK, it doesn't really look like he's gonna find more villager kills. Stable being built up by LEENOCK as well, and the golden age will start. His Ram, I think it will kill the outpost before going down. Yeah, it definitely will. There's no torches over there. His scout will get a little bit of vision over here. We'll check what is up. Yubu, 1/4 from being depleted. In the end, the Ram will also survive. Actually, this Ram has been such a trooper. Killing 3 outposts, maybe 4 actually, and surviving to a full head-on attack from the Viper. Income per minute is still very much in favor of the Viper. He still has a lot of workers going on for him. How much is it? LEENOCK on 29, the Viper on 37. Slowly recovering is LEENOCK. But in the end, the Viper will still have a strong economical advantage and will still get some harassment ongoing with the Khan and these archers. Oh, the Khan goes down actually. Good one on the side of LEENOCK. Also sending 1 horseman out. And these horsemen, since the buffs, they've been such a strong unit in these situations. And overall, you can see why trading 1 horseman into 2 archers, actually 3 archers and the Khan, it's most likely a very good thing. They're just not taking too much damage from these outposts. And even though the horsemen of the Viper are trying to get some trade of their own, in the end, LEENOCK just has way too much stuff back home for defend. Outpost still going up left and right for the Viper to try and get a little bit more control wherever he needs it. But in the end, another attempt of aggression has been shooed away by LEENOCK, who all of a sudden is in the lead as far as military goes. His rank still going. Where to? The Viper says Castle Age with a step right out next to his gold vein, and there's also another gold vein over here. Actually, another gold vein over here. That's an interesting spawn of gold veins, but I guess. Of course, it's going to be a huge boost in the gold income for the Viper, as you can see. The aggression is still ongoing. Finally, this outpost is going to be cleared. And let's take a look at it. 40 workers for LEENOCK. The Viper on 43. It looks like the Abbasid player was able to recover. And now, what do we have ongoing over here? Nothing yet. I would love to see a cultural wing going up very, very soon to try and match the huge boost that the step bread up is going to give to the Viper. One Camel Archer, of course, is going to be always welcome, especially against the Horsemen of the Viper. Oh, the Uwu is depleting. Well, postures here and there, of course. It's be very useful. And the blacksmith is moving. Why? We will never know. His second run, maybe it's the same one that was being repaired from LEENOCK, still trying to catch as many outposts as possible. Meanwhile, prayer tent being built next to the sacred site, ready to get a monk out and gain control of this one and maybe this one too. And that was the plan, maybe, of the Viper all along with Castle Age Khan. It's going to be a little bit more tough for LEENOCK to gain control of his surroundings. And of course, trying to go for a little bit of a man-at-arms raiding wherever the Viper finds an opening might actually get LEENOCK a little bit out of control of what is important as of now. And the Viper decides that secret sites are going to be the important thing. Here comes the cultural wing. Over here, Man-at-Arms and the Lancer as well. Going to go for a little bit of a raid over here on berries. For the Men-at-Arms, they're gonna trade efficiently into the spears. There's just a little bit too much stuff on going for LEENOCK in the way of defense as of now. For the Viper to find a good moment to... Whoa, the Veteran Cannon was super bugged. He's not bugged anymore. And he's going to go around in circles around this base, looking for a single opportunity to strike at the villager. And here it comes. Such an aggressive push with the Lancer as well, getting two villagers and heading out actually, leaving to fight another day. LEENOCK will get to Castle Age himself, and the Khan will run away after killing villager after villager. Mongol stuff, says the Viper, keeping up with the aggression, even when he was looking like his aggression was not leading him anywhere. What is going to be next for the Viper though? What's it gonna be? What's the follow-up? The Uwu has been moved over here and more structures are going to be built around it. And of course, with the faster upgrades next to the Uwu. That was what I was saying when, why is the blacksmith is moving next to the Uwu that was depleted? Like, he had to move it around again. But yes, now he's taking advantage of the blacksmith next to the Uwu. And a monastery is moving around. It's always pretty funny when the monastery is faster than shamans, but yeah. This 1 Man-at-Arm won't really cut it in the way of aggression with the TC and a Mangonel too being up there for LEENOCK for defense. What do we have here? Or just a house? For a second, just for a second, I thought it was a mosque. See the Viper not really trying to get over here. Shaman will get another relic to the prayer tent, ready to, of course, pack the bags again and look for another relic. Yeah, these guys might need to unpack sometime soon. Finally, these outposts are going down, it looks. What do we have here? A Springald being made. Oh, more Springals being made by the Viper. Of course, that's going to be super duper important in these scenarios against both Rams and Mangonos. Oh, the Khan actually trying to dance around the Mangonos shots, taking a little bit too much damage. After all, it definitely looks like finally there's not gonna be any more outposts out there for the Viper. But these relics should go in there and together. Yeah. These are slight errors, just mechanical small errors. Also ping plays a huge factor with Europe versus Korea. But in the end, those things at this super high level start to matter. And it's been, I think, a couple minutes. Like this, finally, you can see the relic going in. And this guy, still not up. Like, look at how long these villagers have to go before dropping. Where's the next guy? It's over here. Like, that's a long way. Yeah, that's definitely not optimal. How many villagers are out there as well? It's 10 villagers. Definitely not working at their best. And even though the Viper still has a lot of units out and still has a stronger economy than his opponent with a very much stronger army, is still losing on much bigger possibilities. Mastery moving around again. This shaman is trying to take control of the circuit side. There's a little bit of a bitey infantry there, trying to stop him from ever taking it. The Khan is taking a close look at this sacred site, avoiding LEENOCK from ever getting on top of it. But don't even think LEENOCK has a moss scout. Yeah, it doesn't. And that's pretty much the most deadly thing that could possibly happen with the Viper getting to 2 sacred sites, getting control of 4 out of the 5 relics, because this relic is most likely going to be controlled by the Viper very soon. All of a sudden, this game is looking like a huge snowball effect on the side of the Viper. Outposts being built again, left and right, more Springles too. The Viper is setting up his powerful army with this blacksmith working at double up. As you can see, very strong upgrades. It's definitely looking like LEENOCK might need to go for a little bit of an aggressive maneuver to stop the Viper from ever getting this army too strong. And honestly, it could be too late. These are archers, mostly, in the army of LEENOCK. And they're just not gonna cut it. Not against men-at-arms. Not with these many Springles stopping, potentially, the Mangonels. The Viper trying to lure the Springles out to maybe send his own Springles in. His Springles are a little bit out of position now, and the Mangonels are gonna be done immediately. Golden Age Tier 2 activated for LEENOCK. And you can see the Viper is still pretty much in such a strong economical lead. The current resources also being very much in his favor. Lancers trying to go around. Yeah, the 4th relic was snatched in the end by the Viper. I don't know where his monasteries are. One is over here with 2 relics. Or maybe there's a moss scout that I missed. I don't think there is. I really don't think there is. Over here on the right side, it looks like a single man-at-arm will not really put up too much of a fight against the full might of the army of LEENOCK. But Springles are marching forward right now. It's a little bit more Springles on the side of the Viper than LEENOCK. Over here, Lancer still looking for a way to cut past the defenses of LEENOCK and get a little bit of damage. Lancer against Lancer. It's looking like LEENOCK will win that fight. But the Viper has pretty much a long siege opportunity going over here. And he might not be able to build keeps. But he's building so many Springles. The keeps might not be that needed. As long as upgrade go, pretty much all of the key upgrades have been already taken by the Viper. Oh, even a trebuchet out over here. Actually threatening the town center. It's going to be serious damage. The traction trebuchet out on the side of the Viper. LEENOCK is going to send his Springles out, but that one trebuchet is well defended. It's a lot of Springles behind them. Oh, where? Oh, it was over here probably. But I think the Lancer touched it. Over here, the Springle War will begin. The Viper gets one Springled. They get more. Mangonels are also in position. Meanwhile, Lancer and Archers against Spear. That's a lot of Spears. Those Lancers are just not gonna cut it. And LEENOCK will defend the southernmost piece of the map. Overall, these many men-at-arms are definitely gonna be a problem for LEENOCK when it comes to a big fight, if it's going to happen soon. But the Viper, look at his resources, guys. It's close. It's super close. 50 more food. And we're gonna get an Imperial Age on the side of the Mongol. Here it is. Will it be dropped? Yes, it will. Here it comes. White Stupa on the side of the Viper. While he's trying to break down this palisade wall on the left side. LEENOCK still a long way from getting those resources he needs for the Imperial Age up. It's gonna try its best to stop the relentless aggression the Viper has been putting through. But his war of attrition is where the Mongol player will shine the most. Mangonel shots will not hit the jackpot that LEENOCK was hoping for. And now with Imperial Age, it's going to be a little bit complicated for LEENOCK to match what is just about to happen. His market over here is most likely going to be swarmed with merchants. And there's a little that can be done by LEENOCK in that department. But Age 4 units, that's a lot that the Viper can get right now. These Mangonels are still the biggest threat to what he has right now, because also the men-at-arms are just about as good as anything he can get. Finally, a secret site in the middle will be neutralized. And this is the last relic standing. LEENOCK just not able to snatch it yet. Another outpost going on over here. Finally, this Garret was laid out. And probably when it was already too late. Another outpost is going to be built over here in the Stealth Forest. I don't think he will ever go up. Springles are gonna try their best to get a couple shots before getting away. The Mangonels out there for LEENOCK, ready to bring the fight to Viper in the face. Look at the Mangonel shots, and they're gonna hit the jackpot on so many men-at-arms at once. Spears are trying to get on top of the Springles. Springle against Springle. It looks like LEENOCK is winning that fight, and all of a sudden, even with the age up, LEENOCK is able to put up a fight. Was it good enough? No, it wasn't. And these men-at-arms have been absolutely terrified at E-Ring. Strings from the Mangonels pop out and try to get as many kills as possible. In the end, again, it wasn't clean, but the Viper will win the fight, will decimate the spears, and will kill every single siege unit left standing on the side of LEENOCK. The score does not lie. The military score does not lie. The Mongol player is getting very close to achieving a 2-0 score for himself. That will be match point. The girl is mulling around, getting to lumber, getting to stone maybe, getting to these food, berries as well. Lots of different choices. No merchants yet. Which I'm a little bit surprised. The step rate up is going to be moved to another gold vein over here. And of course, oh, the Viper. Like, this income is just absolutely nasty for the Mongol player. With so many resources being at his disposal. With a triple economical landmark. And now, with a strong army as a backbone, or his even stronger economy with Imperial Age, I don't really think there's a way out of for LEENOCK. I don't see him ever recovering from the last battle they fought. And now this town center might be threatened as well. Men-at-Arms on the left side ready to raid down the lumber. And I don't see LEENOCK having any units for defense. These Men-at-Arms might themselves be spelling the end of the game for LEENOCK. Not the end of the series, but a 2 advantage might be something very deadly to recover from. The Mangonel will get a shot, and will be a very good shot. The army of LEENOCK is moving into this position. These Men-at-Arms are going to try and spread around to dodge the stones raining from the sky. They will decide to retreat and not raid anything. But over here, the town center is burning. The Springguards from LEENOCK will be killed, and so will the Korean player. 2-0 score for the Viper, getting to match point in game number 2. Here in the bottom side of Hillendale, it's a blue Mongol player in its 3 in a row against the Viper. Can he do that? It's LEENOCK. His opponent in the red instead, as the Holy Roman Empire makes a noise for the Viper. Currently at match point, with 2 very swift victories in the previous 2 games. Wasn't looking close. The Viper is gonna try and bring up early palisade walls to maybe stop the Khan from getting too much stuff done, and of course to stop the outpost rush from ever happening on that side. Wall being built next to his own base for LEENOCK to try and get leverage of the double villager possibly. But with this Rex over here, I do think the stone will be used for the double spears, just like always, and try to get those outposts going. Will they be on time though? That's a whole different question. Another villager being sent out by the Viper to try and bring up this wall. That is tough. Villager on the right side to bring up another wall. The one on the left, of course, is the one that LEENOCK is caring the most about. With a scout being sent out and another villager being placed over here, it looks like the Khan is actually trapped. That's not good. But the Viper forgot about one spot. Oh, if this Khan scouts that, that is going to be something incredibly funny. All of a sudden, the Viper might be hit by an outpost rush and be absolutely clueless about where it ever happened. That could be funny. Doesn't really look like it's going to happen though. At least I don't see the villager being... Oh, yeah. Villagers with torches. Oh no, those are spearmen. Okay. The Khan's still trapped. Let's all remember, it's still open over here. Will the Khan try and go there? Yeah, not gonna risk it, huh? That would be such a major breakthrough for LEENOCK. Yeah. It looks like in the end, LEENOCK will not find out of the secret passageway over here and just decide to go with spears and torches trying to break down the wall. The Khan still dancing around this scout, trying to do its best to stay alive. The spears! They didn't see this. We're almost going that way, but I still didn't see. I just want to do this real quick. Actually, I think LEENOCK knows. It should know there's a way through. Yes, spearmen, where are they going? That could be interesting. That could be interesting. I don't think the Viper knows about that. Oh, he does know. He does know about this. Both players know you can walk through this. And still no one is doing anything about it. More spearmen going to be sent at this ballistic gate and try to break it with torches. And I can stop but find myself actually asking why not just walk through here. Yeah, the human mind sometimes works in mysterious ways, doesn't it? You can't try to kill those villagers before they can put up too much repairs onto this palisade gate. In the end, there's slightly more damage being done by the torches than repairs. Of course, losing this much time is not gonna help LEENOCK at all into breaking through the defenses. Yakin Chapel is going up. Of course, the Holy Roman Empire is going to be having much faster Age 2 than the Mongol. To see LEENOCK put down those deer stones, and here they come. In the end, he's not really looking like an uber aggressive game from the side of LEENOCK, really stopping with the production of spears and focusing mostly on villagers. He's actually would love to see some boosting of villagers instead of anything else. With both players being at 21 villagers, having a little bit of a boost with the Uvu powered villagers could be interesting. The wall has been finally broken down, only to find even more walls on outposts and an Akin Chapel supporting these villagers moving super fast. No, not moving fast, sorry, I meant collecting resources super fast. But yeah. Outpost trying to go up over here next to the berry bushes. That's a little bit of a brave thing from the Viper. Of course the town center is going to help, shooing away these units, killing a couple of them. That's a lot of lost collecting time to try and get these outposts up and running. Maybe even a couple of villagers will die to these in the end. It does look like LEENOCK is not really getting the best of this. I think one villager died, but so many spearmen died. And the cannon was nowhere close. An outpost is going up over here, but the outpost out of the Viper was up a lot sooner. And now all of a sudden, it really doesn't look like a Mongol outpost rush. That was a really bad fight to take, yes. And now villagers burning down these outposts before it ever goes up, until it doesn't. But in the end, it still isn't looking super good. One villager goes down basically for no reason at all. Both players making questionable choices this game. But in the end, I do think like the Viper got the best of it. Slightly, but got the best of it. In the end, let's take a look at villager count again. LEENOCK going to be slightly ahead in that department. He's going to be having a lot of units out. He's going to be killing a lot of stuff. But the Holy Roman Empire just doesn't forgive you if you let them get to age 3. And we've seen one big pattern in all of the Viper games, and that's an absolutely outstanding rally control. If rally control transitions always into the Viper, having a super strong Castle Age and an even stronger Imperial Age, I do think like Holy Roman Empire is just the perfect match for the Mongols of LEENOCK, especially on Hillandale. More walls being built up by the Viper in different locations. The Khan is going to be speeding units up With these Mangudai trying to get on top of as many villagers as possible. Just really doesn't look like he's gonna be pushing the Viper away from goal too much. Just a little bit. I would love to see the Viper drop down some defensive structures, that's for sure. I don't think he can defend with villagers forever, especially now that he's spreading around a little bit more, and then Mangudai have been sneaking past his defenses. Is this the Phantom villager that never got inside but still works as if he was inside, and so these outpost is raining arrows without anyone inside it? I think it is. There's a marvelous thing. Phantom villagers shooting arrows to avenge their death. It looks like the town center is in range of these Mangudai on this position. In the end, the prelates will heal the villagers back to full health, and the outpost will complete. The lumber is safe. The berries are safe too. And now the only thing that's not safe yet, it's over here. These gold vein. And honestly also the deer patches are a little bit out of the way with these outposts still holding up. On the side of LEENOCK, what do we have? Pastures, of course, producing sheep after sheep for LEENOCK to actually collect. There's still the possibility of these deers to be farmed as well, but most of all, it's the steppe readout that is going to be the major breakpoint for LEENOCK. Of course, the Ragnitz Cathedral. I forgot how to talk for a little while. Ragnitz Cathedral is going up as well. And I was talking about the relic control out of the Viper in the previous games. With the stable going up and probably horsemen starting to swarm them up. You know what? I do think like the Viper is going to have a sick, outstanding rally control this time as well. It's a little bit of an unlucky thing going on for him over here though, with two relics spawning insanely close to each other against, out of all players, a Mongol player. Now a relic over here, tough to be snatched, with this prelate being killed by arrows very soon. It looks like in the end, this relic will not be snatched. The relic in the middle is under control of an outpost as well. And with these outposts pretty much blocking the Viper from sending prelates in the middle, it's going to be looking rough. You can see the Viper being at absolutely 0 gold as of now. Desperately in need of prelates to try and collect relics. And you can see more outposts going up. Well, even without the tower rush, LEENOCK has just so much map control right now. It's actually crazy. I wasn't really paying too much attention to the outpost positions. But it looks like the Viper is going to have a very tough time getting any map control. Finally, a palisade wall goes over here. That spot was left open for a little bit too much of a long time. It was super awkward. Oh, the Mangudai will finally be killed. Only the Khan left standing, but again, the Khan is trapped. It's a Castle Age Khan. He's still a very powerful Khan. These horsemen will be running away. The battle of the outposts still continues. It's funny. But in the end, I want to see something else. That's not what I wanted to see. Yeah, still no shamans to get those relics, snatch them away from the Viper. That's the most important thing. The Ragnitz Cathedral doing absolutely nothing as of now. Siege engineering being completed by LEENOCK. And of course it's improved siege engineering. Those units can make springalds. And the Viper might have the stables, might be having a lot of horsemen and knights on the map. But I don't really see him getting control of these relics anytime soon. There's a lot of upgrades being completed at once. Market going up for LEENOCK as well. And yeah, at last the prayer tent is out. Shamans being produced to gain those relics income for himself. The Viper needs to do something quickly about it. It's probably the most important thing he has to do right now, is get those prelates onto relics. Or Mangudais along the Khan will try to stop the Viper from getting the control he much needs. A siege workshop going up actually. Who is depleted, it looks like. Be taken elsewhere, probably over here. Yep, over here. Alright, first relic is going to be snatched. Over here, the Viper still not managing to having enough units to break through. Still a little bit too afraid of those Mangudais. Oh, I have the score the other way around. Gosh darn it. Now it's correct. Anyhow, Mangudai and Khan still looking for kills. Oh, that one villager almost going down actually. It's been so complicated for the Viper to actually find the way into the middle of the map. Now he's sending units out on the right, trying to get something done, at least a little bit of scouting information. But in the end, LEENOCK is just in complete control of his own side of the map. His Springalding placement onto these outposts is going to be extra difficult for the Viper to actually get and deal any good raid damage. And so many spears out as well. Now again, these Springalding placement hitting such strong damage onto the key units. One prelate being stationed over here, trying to get on top of this relic, but it's going to be so hard. The monastery, well, not the monastery, shaman tent, is a prayer tent, sorry, is going to be moving in this direction to get 2 more relics. LEENOCK safely in control of the relic in the middle over here as well, with the 3 more units going into the middle. Self-repair is going to be, emergency repair, sorry, is going to be issued by the Viper against these mangonels. But the ram is going up, and LEENOCK is looking for an aggressive finisher in the face of the Viper, completely unable to take control of what was most important for his civilization. Mongols just do not forgive. It looks like one of the relics is going to be snatched by the Viper. The one in the middle, though, is still a long way out. And now LEENOCK will secure his 3rd relic of the game without the Viper, with the Viper unable to do too much about it. Now the ram is going straight for the town center for some absurd reason. Against 2 Springals, that's just not going to happen. But the Mangonels will send stones into the farms, setting them on fire. If you want to know why, I am absolutely unaware of physics work in that department. Why would stone make farms burn? It's beyond me. But it's AoE4, and that will happen unless the Viper has enough Springles to deflect, which looks like it's going to be the case. Another outpost is going up over here for the Viper. So defense, it's going fine, I will say. Not amazing, just fine. But relic-wise, it's just a 1 here in the Rhineese Cathedral. And that is definitely not what you want to have as the Holy Roman Empire. The prayer tent is moving in the middle, getting close to that 4th and last relic. So well defended by the whole might of the army of LEENOCK.
Schönes Bilde.
Outposts being built forward and forward by the Viper, really desperately trying to get Springald's emplacement there to fight the mangonels. I don't think these outposts will ever see the light of day though. It will be indeed cancelled by the Viper. Springles actually try and stop the mangonels, but the Springles out of LEENOCK immediately gain such a strong, immediately get such a strong trade. Now the mangonels send those stones from the sky on top of the horsemen and knights of the Viper, which are not really able to get on top of these mangonel or Springles. The last Springles left standing for the Viper will fall down, and now it's siege units against no siege units. The Viper lost his full army, and LEENOCK is marching forward. The Viper taps out, and LEENOCK gets his first win of this series. And it's Mongolian Heights here on the right side of the river. In the blue, playing the Holy Roman Empire, it's LEENOCK. And here on the left side of the river, in the red, the Rus player, currently a match point, the Viper. And of course it's this. Like, come on. It's hybrid map time. And I'm extra excited, guys. This is the third tournament of AoE 4 that I cast. Always been cast in StarCraft. Never cast AoE 2. Never cast Warcraft. Never cast any other game. And you know what's going through in my mind right now? That's the first hybrid map that I ever cast. And it's such a lovely thing. There's something wrong with my cursor, as you can see. That is not supposed to happen. But we'll manage. Maybe. Let me just do this. No, it's still not working. There's something super wrong ongoing. I have absolutely no idea. That is another of the weird bugs. But we'll manage. You can see, like, when I use my mouse wheel, middle button to move the camera around, it just stays in the middle. It's pretty funny. It's most definitely a bug. We'll get used to it, I swear. No, I'm not getting used to it, but I will do my best to not influence my casting too much. You can see, of course, LEENOCK trying to get as many wolves as possible, with 3 wolves chasing down his scout. I just want to go into the Viper tab, just to check how his bounty is going to grow, which is, oh my goodness! Yeah, this scout is give a raise to this scout. That's 13 sheep. That's... I know it's Mongolian Heights and those things happen on this map, but that was hilarious nonetheless. Like, wow. The Viper has 19 sheep. 19 out of 24. Well, not 24, it's 26, I think. How many sheep is there? 7, yeah. It's 26, sorry. Like, that's crazy. And with the Lodiya sheep's ongoing, like... I know it's Mongolian Heights, so yeah, you get the sheep, whatever. The dogs are more important. But that's still hilarious. Like, so many sheep, that's basically never... You're basically never gonna run out of sheep. So, whatever happens in the river, it's okay. You're the sheep. Ooh, a sneaky dock being built by the Viper over here. I do like this Wolof, the cross Wolof in the river. It's very strong option. on Mongolian Heights, especially the one side of the river you want to get the most control about, that being the one close to your dock. You can just bring it down later. But what I do fear about this is the possibility of these roost sheep immediately turning into attack ships and try to kill as many fishing ships as possible out of LEENOCK. Also, they do not have to have a voyage back to the dock to drop down those resources. The Viper only going for a very strong opener with his roost on Mongolian Heights, on the Aachen Chapel, while being in a very good spot for the Viper. He's going to be struggling in the way that Professional Scout is not really an option. Not on a hybrid map. It can be an option if you somewhat don't manage to take too much control. And you can see below the attack ship getting on top of the dock. I'm surprised to see the dock being the target and not the ships. But of course, yeah, like this is better. They will be repaired, but they will just die faster. Try to get inside the dock to take shelter. There's not enough space inside this dock, and of course that's a lot of lost time in which they are not actually collecting anything. Oh, the wrong ship gets into the dock, so one of them actually died. It would have happened anyway, so not too much of a big deal. A galley is going up in this dock meanwhile, and it's going to win the fight against the Lodi attack ship. It's also a little bit more pricey though. Here it comes. Yeah, the galley is gonna win this battle. It's nothing too surprising. This dock is going to go down, but the Viper managed to waste a lot of time for LEENOCK, and he has so many more ships collecting fish as well. As you can see, in the income per minute, the Viper just absolutely annihilating LEENOCK in the way of food income. I was saying fish income, yes. This guy is gonna try to kill the dock as well. It's gonna take a while, but he will manage. We're here in the middle. Walls are going up. And the Viper is gonna look for a little bit of harassment in these early nights. Of course, gold is still so important, and you cannot collect gold from the river. So the Viper will try to send his harassment units in and try to get as much damage as possible, while LEENOCK is forced out of this gold vein for a little while. Oh, the galley actually went through over here in the middle. Yeah, this is yeah, we need to bring it down. Well, he's a little bit too much of a covering spot, covering a little bit too much of everything. Is any of those sheep turning? It looks like it is not. Oh, actually, two of them have turned. It's so tough to see when they do. And as of now, two Lodi attack ships are going to bring an end to this one galley. Here comes a third Lodi attack ship. The fishing boat over here is going to try and take shelter with a 9, sending torches onto the galley as well. It looks like the Viper will win the sea battle and will maybe turn this back into fishing ship. Oh, another Lodi attack ship again against another galley. But the Lodi attack ship is going to try and focus down the fishing ship while LEENOCK is not paying attention. Meanwhile, back home, yeah, this scout is not doing too much. LEENOCK is really not paying attention. He's gonna lose a couple too many fishing boats. This fishing boat barely survives, and so does end the dream of the Viper of stopping the dock of LEENOCK with a sneaky Lodi attack ship. All of these have been turned back into fishing boats, and looks like the Viper is back again in the lead in the food income. The two Lodi attack ship actually not being turned, so many more were produced. My bad on that. It looks like the Viper will be safe against this one galley, but we'll probably also have to give up this dock for good. Early Knight still trying to look for a place to attack into. Meanwhile, back home, the Viper... Oh, so many sheep. Gracious. The Viper's still not at 250, by the way. He still didn't get the bounty because of LEENOCK being so careful about stopping it from ever happening by killing one of the deer patches over here and having the 2 scout opener. But of course, with that many sheep, 11, yeah, he's going to get it. He's going to get to 250. It's not really super duper important due to the higher importance of the docks over the villagers on ground. But in the end, killing these sheep just one by one and getting to 250 is still a missed opportunity. That's something that the Viper should be definitely doing as of now. LEENOCK getting to Castle Age. Of course, being able to collect a lot over here with these few fishing boats. Over here in the middle, there's one galley trying to bring down 45 Palisade Gate. This one prelate will not manage to convert anyone. Will try to run towards the spears so that he can go back home with the relic, which is all of a sudden the biggest thing ongoing as of now for LEENOCK. The Viper actually, with a very, very strong income in food, is going to be probably trading that down without really caring too much about the relics. And it's also a very fortunate spawn, because he has one early night on top of this relic, which is going to be completely impossible to get by LEENOCK without sending his spears in. But it's still three relics on one side and 2 on the other. And this relic over here is actually very close to the dock of LEENOCK, making it very difficult for the Viper to actually gain control of this area without just snatching the relic and running back home. And for that, you need H3, you need the Abbey of the Trinity, which is not available yet. Why do I talk? Warrior monks out. Okay. This is still the most important thing to control. Now that more horsemen and knights are out, the Viper has a little bit of a steadier hand into controlling that one relic. Now that the Rheinix Cathedral is going to hold a second one with the relic. Where's the relic? Oh. Wrong relic, buddy. Wrong relic. Was supposed to be another one over here, right? Yeah, whatever. Warrior Monk, I don't think it's out. I don't think it's on his way to get the one relic that LEENOCK is eyeing from on top of that cliff, dreaming of getting it back home, deep down knowing that's not going to be an option. And here goes a Hulk out for LEENOCK, trying to bring down this wall a little bit faster and bring the fight to the Lodia fishing boats, which are probably going to be turned in a little while. Warrior Monk getting the relic and bringing it back home. He's in a little bit of an awkward spot, almost being converted, but in the end will manage to kill the Warrior Monk. A sneaky dock on the top side, going past everything, all of the units of the Viper, and getting the dock down, making a galley and forcing the Viper out of the river. Oh, these boats are trying to turn into attack ship. All of them, almost all of them. Will it be enough? Oh, that's tough. The Hulk just has such an easy time against these. Incendiary boats were probably, at least a couple, were probably a very good choice. And in the end, I do feel like the Viper had completely lost control of the river. Rus in the river will be strong until Castle Age hits. And when it does, it's not that easy anymore. Yes, these 4 attack ships are going to kill this Hulk sooner rather than later. But there's much more where that came from. Maybe. Yeah, breaking down these 45 palaces will probably take like a lifetime. But there's another Hulk incoming from the top side. And all of a sudden, with these relics being in the middle of the river, the Viper might have lost completely control of that. Abbey of the Trinity is empty of relics. There's one relic over here and one relic over here, both being controlled by the Viper somewhat. But the river is just... yeah, that's... you're never gonna get control of that anymore. He's Hulk, he's up there right now. And he's going to send arrows flying into the Lodi attack ship, which will try to take shelter. Oh, demolition ship! And boom! There's a lot of damage. Is it enough damage? It's not. Fortified palisade wall. It's going to take at least 5 minutes before falling down, but in the end, it's not going to matter. The Viper has lost control of the river, and now LEENOCK is sending units out against the crossbows to try and get this relic as well. The warrior monk will snatch it. Will the spears get on top of the warrior monk fast enough with these horse archers raining those arrows into them? It looks like they will not. The warrior monk runs away with the bounty. And talking about bounty, like, there's still sheep alive. It's doesn't make any sense that the Viper didn't kill those. He will literally be collecting much more food right now, especially now that his food income is not looking that great, as you can see, guys. Well, now that he lost the river, we know that this is not going to be a good thing for his income. LEENOCK getting to Imperial Age, of course, with such a huge food income advantage. With the Rhine's Cathedral granting him such a steady income of gold. And the Palace of Swabia being a little bit too cheap, maybe. All of a sudden, this is going to be interesting. 5 seconds, 12 food. And here goes. Villager. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Villager. And so on and so forth. Let's go into the LEENOCK point of view. 66 villagers. Remember the number. I just want to show it to you in 2 minutes from now. LEENOCK again doesn't even need the villagers with this much river control. 2 relics on the side of both players. Well, I learned something. Mongol Knights has 4 relics, not 5. I didn't know about that. Over here, there's a prelate getting this sacred side. Oh, it's such a beautiful dock. I didn't really pay too much attention to Holy Roman Empire's dock. This one looks very pretty. Oh, what the hell? The other sacred side is going to be controlled by the Viper, but this spot is a little bit nasty. With LEENOCK being in control of the river, maybe sometime soon, Carracks and Hulks or Galleys will make so that the sacred sites will be in control of LEENOCK, and all of a sudden, the sacred site victory might be possible in a very interesting position. Alright. Rex being dropped by the Viper to support the Horse Archers. Ooh, that's a lot of elite knights. Yeah, these fiends do not mess around. They kill those archers pretty damn fast. So do the crossbows. Deal a lot of damage to them though. I just want to get my eyes away from this fight that is clearly going to be won by the Viper with these many crossbows. Just take a good look at this. Men-at-arms with their huge maces are going to be a little bit too difficult to deal with for the Viper. And that's a lot of racks being dropped. And the blacksmith is getting those upgrades. And 2 minutes have passed, guys. You remember the number? Look at it now. 30 workers being produced in 2 minutes. That's the beauty of the Palace of Swabia. And now LEENOCK is going to do the secret side sneak over here with a double dock, top and south. It's going to be so complicated for the Viper to ever regain control of this. And now LEENOCK with so many resources, such a strong advantage over his opponent, the Viper dropping down a keep to stay safe over here. And this warrior monk, yeah, it's 5 relics. I wasn't saying something stupid, apparently. I didn't all of a sudden think that Mongolites spawned 4 relics instead of 5. And the Viper managed to get 3, that's a good thing. But there's also a little bit of a bad thing going on over here. And that thing is that 30 and 45 minutes, and LEENOCK is just gonna straight up win a game. Those archers are getting in position to kill the prelate and regain control of the sacred side. It's a little bit too early for LEENOCK. He cannot really support this sacred side with any strong units here from the sea. From the sea, the river. But overall, that's really not the main thing, is it? These men with the maces will sooner rather than later start swinging their maces in the face of these crossbows. Marching drills is of course the key upgrade for LEENOCK. Make those men-at-arms move super fast. The sacred victory is going to be denied, of course. And now the galleys, the Hawks, sorry. Oh, galleys and Hawks out of LEENOCK are gonna move into position to kill those horse archers, or at least shoot them away from the sacred side. As I was saying before, lots of palisade walls blocking the Mongolian heights, as you can see. With the Age 4 incoming. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, here it is. The High Guard Marie. Powering up as many siege workshops as possible, which is 2 as of now. Probably going to be 3 sometimes in the future. The Viper is looking to get those strong Springolds and strong Bombirds that the Rus can pull out and try to bring the fight to LEENOCK with just the Age 4 super strong siege units the Rus can produce with these sick upgrades, especially this one. Still, the income per minute is looking very favorable for LEENOCK. And again, let's 4 more minutes have passed. Let's take a look at 40 more villagers. How come? The Viper with a double TC on 104 and LEENOCK on 133 with the Palace of Swabia doing Palace of Swabia things. Now the siege workshops working hard to get those super key units, a university going up for the Viper to get those super key upgrades, just like chemistries. And yeah, this warrior monk was never going to get that secret side. Oh, the ships are committing suicide, it looks. The galleys, at least. And you know what? I don't think LEENOCK needs that much river control anymore. It already did its job. Now he has the Palace of Swabia. He's feeling content with it. And with the bomber going up, these longer range Springles might suddenly come in clutch. Look at the range on those things. But so many men-at-arms and spearmen are going toe-to-toe with the crossbows. This keep really doing its best to stay alive, but the one bomber is absolutely annihilating it. At this stage, this keep is going to fall, and so will the advantage of the Viper in this series. Are we getting a game 5, boys? I think we are. The Viper, steadily defending back home with mangonels and crossbows, will, in the end, deflect the most of the army of LEENOCK. And I say the most because part of it is still over here, going at it at this wooden fortress with mangonels incoming, bombers incoming. I don't really see a way out for the Viper, as of now, so many different locations being attacked at once by the men-at-arms. The wrecks have been dropping down like the rain. The Palace of Swabia getting the economical advantage that LEENOCK was looking forward to closing out this game. And you know what it is, guys? It's game number 5 time. So much can happen here on the open map of Dry Arabia in such a weird matchup as French versus Abbasid, with Abbasid being the one civilization that get access to camels, which are so strong against cavalry. But French, it's just much more than just cavalry. The Viper, such a strong Abbasid player as well, keeping Abbasid for last, while LEENOCK, very strong French player himself. But that's a very tough thing to fell the Viper 3 times in a row. Whatever is going to happen, we have had a banger finals, banger series, banger tournament. And overall, I couldn't be happier about the games we've seen so far. It will be wonderful to end it all with another banger. And I do think this is going to be heavy feudal aggression. And you know what? That's what made me fall in love with AoE4. So let's get it going. Mill going down for LEENOCK, of course, with the cheaper drop-down structures of the French. Going to be easy to get the mill ongoing. While the Viper still not getting his economic wing. Being very close to it though. I'm surprised he didn't pull out of gold to get a little bit more lumber to drop down the Rex that he so desperately needs. The economic wing has been started, as you can see, but no Rex yet. School of Cavalry ongoing as well. You want to have at least 2, well, maybe at least 3 spearmen out before the French player has completed his School of Cavalry. At least in Dry Arabia. There's maybe something we can tell about the way the Viper wants to play this, that is not really relying too much on defense and more on offense, because that gold prompts me to believe he wants to use it for something aggressive, or maybe a sneaky fast castle age, or maybe a sneaky professional scouts. Those are all very cute things, but why go professional scouts as Abbasids when you get berry bushes basically for free? Like, on Dry Arabia, yes, this is not going to be the easiest to control, but with an outpost you're fine. So, I'm super curious to see where this gold from the Viper is going to go into. It might be a whole plethora of different things, to be honest. Maybe textiles? And I've been overreacting to it? I don't think so. Yeah, like, come on. It can't be that, right? LEENOCK's School of Cavalry is close to finishing. Oh, yeah, right, fresh foodstuffs. And wheelbarrow. and he's going to have resources for both in an instant. That was actually pretty damn good. How did I not think about it, right? Still no Rex. Here he comes. Rex being dropped down by the Viper to try and counter the early Knights. Well, Royal Knights, sorry. Out of LEENOCK. On the side of LEENOCK, wheelbarrow already finished. And we see the usual archery range being dropped as well. Will not be too surprised at seeing a Rex being dropped as well. Especially with this archery range going up and camels being a thing. This is going to be wheelbarrow and then pull out of gold. You know, Faber, you will win. Yeah. Not much of an Abyssine player myself. Much more of a Delhi / Rus player. You can see LEENOCK actually getting a villager over here for his efforts. Without really having the Viper counter his Royal Knights whatsoever. Finally now, with 3 spears out, it's gonna be a little bit more versatile in its defense. And honestly, it's not that easy to get into the lumber over here. So I do feel like, yeah, LEENOCK wants to send his units in over there. At least this is a full block. That will be interesting. A bit crazy, but interesting. Spears actually getting more forward. The Viper has something in mind. He doesn't want his Royal Knights to stay on his lawn for too long. Now, with more Royal Knights coming from this side, cannot really think he wants to invest too many of his units chasing down the Royal Knight over here. And this guy over here can always get into the lumber. The Viper not really spreading his spears around to try and counter Royal Knights from multiple positions. It's not like LEENOCK is doing too much to try and exploit this. He just has 2 Royal Knights. You cannot really pull your opponent apart. Now, 3rd Royal Knight is incoming. I mean, I'm not too sure about like the wall behind the wood line. I don't think he needs it yet. Like, he can spare 2 spears over here, and it's pretty much impossible for the Royal Knights to get in there from this location. From this location, of course, as town center, and it's going to be absolutely deadly. And from here, with an outpost out, I do feel like the Viper has full control of his own side of the map. He cannot really work forward too much. But LEENOCK will almost certainly try to pull his defenses apart and try to hit at different locations at once. The scout is going down, never a good thing. Now it's archer on archer action with 3 Royal Knights actually sharking around. This spear will need to chase the Royal Knights around while the archers are going to try and, yeah, exactly, and thin the spear number so these Royal Knights can get even more damage. One of the scouts is going to go down for LEENOCK almost immediately. In the end, even without too many archers, LEENOCK will manage to kill a couple of the units of the Viper without losing any of his Royal Knights. The outpost being a huge help in the defense of the Viper. And I just want to go into the military tab real quick, because this is super close. That's definitely not what I was expecting with that opener from the Viper. Not really having too many spears, and all of a sudden he has like 3 on one side and 2 on the other. LEENOCK doesn't manage to find any villager kills besides the 1 in the beginning of the game. And now all of a sudden it's a whole different game. These archers just not cutting it. And now with spears moving onto the map, the outpost being out, And the possibility of a wall going up over here is going to be much more difficult for LEENOCK to find a way in. And he's going to be careful. He's going to need to be careful around these units out of the Viper moving out. Such as wing of momentum. Again, as we were saying before, like, this is going to be a heavy feudal matchup. Feudal is by far the most important thing in here. These Royal Knights are going to get on top of lumber. LEENOCK manages to find something that just the one spear is not going to be enough. Getting 2 villagers, not too shabby after all for LEENOCK. While the whole army of the Viper is being sent back home, probably the European player finds out that he should have spared at least some of those units for defense, and he didn't spare enough of them. But as of now, the Viper has a steady production of units. With one more Rex, he's going to have even more spears. And maybe, who knows, Camel Archers might be a thing in a little while to scare these horses and even up the fight. These archers being a little bit out of position, the spears will try to get in there. The Royal Knight will barely survive with its life. Has chivalry been researched? Yes, it was. And now, though, LEENOCK is going to try and make a move out of the zone. With this Royal Knight slowly but steadily recovering his lost health. What is it we have here? On the military side, very even between those two players. Both of them not really thinking about advancing to the next stage yet. And honestly, both of them desperately looking to find a killing move on their opponent being out of position. That's a lot of Royal Knights. That's a lot of archers too. I don't feel like LEENOCK with... Oh my goodness! Such a terrible engagement for LEENOCK with these spears hiding in between all of the archers. In the end, the spears are going to kill so many Royal Knights, and now spears on archer action as well. Spears still defending the archers over here with this positioning, perfect positioning by the Viper. Perfect fight for the Abbasid player. It just wasn't enough though. These Royal Knights are just not dying. And even with the spears getting such a perfect engagement, there just weren't enough of them. And now that's where these next barracks comes in clutch. The outpost needs to help a lot with these. Another Royal Knight is going down, even though if this wasn't looking pretty for the Viper, Royal Knights are a much more expensive unit than any of the units that the Viper lost. So in the end, he's still going to be pretty happy about this. He still needs more spears to make this a steadier hold, to transition into something more aggressive. Another Royal Knight is most likely going to fall. And this guy over here is very bruised too. 9 health. And he will escape with his life, just barely, but he will escape with his life. Another barracks being dropped down here in this blacksmith. You see Bloomery being researched by the Viper to give a little bit more oomph to these spears against LEENOCK's Royal Knights, which are recovering their health. Are they recovering their health fast enough? It looks like they are not. Another Royal Knight falls down. LEENOCK is losing the battle and the war. Here, at feudal age, where it matters the most, the Viper is holding. He's losing so many villagers over here on top of these berry bushes. In the end, 50 villagers for LEENOCK against the 38 of the Viper. It might not look good in the way of army, but LEENOCK has such a strong economical advantage. He will transition into battering rams. That's a risky choice. But if he manages to hit at least a couple structures, it definitely will pay off. Especially with not so many villagers and spears to defend against the run. The archers are just not gonna cut it. I do think this Rex is going down, and LEENOCK can eventually overwhelm his opponent due to having a stronger production alongside a stronger economy. Those villagers are inside these outposts over here, which is not doing enough. The battering ram is suffering from these arrows being shot at it, but it will suffer long enough for these barracks to go down. 3 more attacks to go, and the barracks will go down. Or maybe 2 if these archers do put enough into it. Yes, it's just a 2. Boom! The Rex goes down. Now a house is the next target of LEENOCK the Viper, not really managing to build up a strong enough army to put up a fight. It's just too many archers out there for LEENOCK. The house will fall down. Will it cause a supply block? No, it won't. The Viper, half the supply of his opponent. That is not looking good. His supply is going to be locked at 60, I think, with this. Oh, 70. With this house dying as of now. Still not supply blocked, but annoying nonetheless. This barracks is the next target. Here come the Royal Knights. Those are brave Royal Knights. In a little bit of an awkward spot, they will get a couple villagers. They will get a couple archers. They will force the bell to be rung. But they will also run away almost unscathed. Only one of them will fall, and this guy over here, he's seen better days, but he's alive. And the ram is going up over here after the other being killed. 2 Rex being destroyed, 2 houses being destroyed. Actually, 1 Rex being destroyed and 2 houses being destroyed. But the Viper has been completely locked out of these berry bushes over here. He's collecting from these other... Well, not really. Starting to collect from these other ones. But the dance of the archers is not finished. They're summoning yet another ram. And now, LEENOCK, with a guild all, is going to advance to the 3rd age. Castle age, plus the amount of pressure he's been putting up. I don't think the Viper has a way to recover from these. The spears are trying to burn down these rams to a crisp. But the outpost goes down. It's archers against archers. The rams staying in the way of the spears, stopping them from getting on top of the archers. And there's just too many archers on the side of the Viper, I think. What are the upgrades? Oh, a new age begins. The Royal Knights with the surround on top of the archers. These spears are doing their best, but the Royal Knights will cut through. LEENOCK is your Bring It On number 2 champion with the reverse sweep on the Viper.